Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
One. Okay, and we're on. It's another episode of Non-PC Housing. Good evening. Welcome.
Cheers. We always do a cheers.
Give you a heads up. This
Cheers.
is our last one for a couple months. Mm-hmm. We're going to take a sabbatical and do some serious work on some other ideas and projects before we come back in January 2023. Mm-hmm. So why don't you want to start us off on the first item on the agenda?
So the first item on the agenda, this Deb put most of this meeting together. She did a phenomenal job. She's diving right into the details. But the first item on the agenda, and I don't know if anybody out there that has had to apply for apartments has experienced this, application fees. We're finding that, and there's been some articles in the paper, that landlords are now requesting application fees anywhere from $25 to $175 just to apply for an apartment. And it doesn't mean you're going to get the apartment. You know, it could mean that, you know, here's your application and that they do a background check and they do a credit check and only to hear a no. But with Deb being on top of this, she did a little more research, and we found that in the state of Vermont, you can't request any money for application fees.
If you could put up the one that's the screenshot of the Vermont statutes online, it's Title IX. If you can find that one. There it is, so everybody can see it big and bold. As you can see here, it's 9 VSA 4456A. Residential rental application fees are prohibited. A landlord or landlord's agent shall not charge an application fee to any individual in order to apply to enter into a rental agreement for a residential dwelling unit. The section shall not be construed to prohibit a person from charging a fee to a person in order to apply for rentals of commercial or non-residential property. So those of you who have been paying fees, and I know lots and lots of people who have, and lots of landlords who charge, they're illegal. And I know that some of you will say, well, if I don't do that, they're just not going to help me. They're not going to rent to me. I get all that, but it is technically illegal. I don't know who needs to come down, bring the hammer down, but I'm just giving you a heads up that those fees are not appropriate in the state of Vermont. They may be in other states.
I'm thinking it's a tactic to discourage people from applying for apartments. So if you don't have $50 or $75 to submit an application fee with a background check and everything else, that's going to weed out 75% of the people. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a property manager that stated that somewhere in Vermont. He was like, listen, we have 140 units. I could have 10 units available at any time. If I do an application fee, then that weeds out 75% of the deadbeats that I'm not even going to hire or look to rent to anyway. So it's a tactic and it's a ploy. But now there's a movement for people that say, how do I get my application fee back?
Yeah.
If I don't get accepted, why, what money do I get back? How does that work?
Right. I mean, to me, giving an application fee is sort of like good faith money. I'm going to give you my truthful answers on my application, and I'm going to give you this money so you can do a check, because they're doing background checks or they're doing credit checks or whatever it is they're doing, which to me, as far as if you're a landlord, it's the cost of doing business, and it is, and you can take it out in your taxes or some other way. But once you pay that, they should give it back to you and just hold on to your money until they make a determination they should return it to you. That's what I think they should do. But that apparently is not how it's going. And I understand the weeding process, but you can go through several $100s and still not have a place to live. And that article that we read about that, was it the Digger? Or
yeah, I think you can find it on the Digger,
Vermont Digger. VT
it's
Digger.
free. It's free online.
Yeah, that they have gone through several $100s without a place to live.
Right, and it's another income stream for property managers, I believe, because I've run background checks, and they're typically you run them through an association, and they're like $10 or $20.
Because
they're
you're
not
doing all
$75
for the same
or
service.
$50. Yeah, they're not $75 or $50, and then I don't charge somebody to submit an application, and people can actually download their own credit check.
Yeah.
You get 3 free credit checks a year. I get everything I need to know is on that credit check. That background, through the credit bureau, and it shows me your delinquencies. It shows me if you pay your bills. It shows me how much outstanding money you already owe. But I think they're using this as a way to supplement their income.
Yeah, well, they offset their property managers' costs with some of this, and I get that, and I do understand the desire to reduce the risk of tenants. But you need to check, but as a landlord, you own the property, you have to take on the risk, so you should pay for the risk. But I have to tell you, when we were poor and homeless and looking for a place, thank God they weren't doing checks at that time, because I know I had a crappy credit report. And otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to get as far as we have now. Pulling up our own bootstraps. What do? You can't get into any place if they're all going to check on you. You might as well just pass it down the street instead of resending it all the time. Let's just say, okay, this is that person they're coming to you now. Here's what it looks like. Instead of having to charging people, I just think it's not appropriate. It's been going on for years, and until now, and this has been in force since added 1999.
Well, that's great. Why doesn't the state then have a free database? So if you're a renter in Vermont, hey, I'm a renter, I'll pay the state $10. They collect all my information, and then the landlord can log into that database and see all my credentials, my background, everything else.
Yeah. And
so I get the state saying, no, you can't charge a fee, and I get you saying that it's the cost of doing business to do background checks. But when you do a background check, it could be $10 for every state, and you don't know where these people live, right? They could just
use
put
their
Vermont.
Application, right?
They could just put I've only lived in Vermont. You run something in Vermont, and
they don't always talk to each other.
They don't talk to each other, so it's not $10 just for a background check. It's $10 per every state, or $20 or whatever. We used to have to do this when I ran public transportation, but. It would be nice if the state could have a database. So if you wanted to rent in Vermont, you paid to be in that database, and they collected that information, and there you go. It's just submitted, and you don't have to pay a landlord for that information.
And they're supporting landlords that way, and giving the information that they need, and they're supporting potential tenants by making the information available when it's needed. And they ought to do something with that. But again, that's another idea that they haven't come up with at this point. It's just illegal to charge it, and they've been doing it in the state of Vermont since 1999. So 2 decades it's gone on, and I think I do also I put up I had an apartment available on School Street a little while ago, probably about a month and a half ago. And within one day, I had 55 applicants. Ooh-wee.
I can't go through those. So if I had 55 inquiries, and they all, send me the application. Right. So 55, if I charge them $50 a piece.
Multiply that,
that's a lot of money. And just to get a no, you're not. But here's the thing: if you're paying for that, and the landlord says no, I think that puts the landlord in a situation where they have to tell you why they said no. They have to really.
They usually don't.
But I'm betting they have to, because there is, it's the Right to Know Act. So if you're refused a job, you're refused a credit.
You need a reason.
You're refused a loan. You're refused a credit card. They actually have to write you a reason why.
Well,
and it has to be legit.
And it says, too many bad debts or whatever it is they have to say.
Yeah.
But landlords don't do that.
I know, but if they're taking all this money for applications and they refuse you, they should have to give you a reason why. Not just, you were 20th in line.
So we put this information out because although we don't have the answer, except that's a good answer, which is to get the state to support both everyone in this process by making it easy to access this without charging a fee. There's that as an answer. But it needs to be worked on, and we listen, and we figure people in the in TV land, some of them will be stimulated to go further with this and do something about it, which should cause some shakeup, perhaps, and maybe some action.
Well, I would like to know how many people out there have actually had to pay application fees. We have a Facebook page now.
Yep, we have a Facebook page.
What are we calling it?
It's non-PC housing.
Yeah, non-PC housing. So
we're there. We usually put these episodes on there as well. I can link them to it so you can get at them from YouTube or Fact TV.
And a lot of other good information, but it would be interesting to see, maybe we could poll or do a survey about how many people are actually
Locally,
having to have paid for application fees.
I bet it's going to be a ton.
I'm betting
talked
it's
to
mostly
somebody we know
Burlington.
very closely this week, and she said, yep, she had.
Okay.
And in the past, and also my family, at least one of my family members whose family had to pay several different times, never got the money back, didn't get in. Different fees, different rate, and that's just it. There's absolutely no consistency. Might as well charge you $200.
They can
for a credit check because there's no control of any kind. You know, someone could charge 10, someone could charge $200. There's no control of it, and it says here you can't do it. But so that's why it's a minefield out there.
Or you can just tell people, run your own credit check and send it to me.
And give it to me. Yeah, have it released to me.
So
something like that. So the other part of this on the agenda is also to talk about the possibility of assessments on houses, on our properties here in the community. So that's going to affect everyone who owns a building. And I took the time to speak with the listers and ask the question, when do they think they're going to be forced by the state to do reassessment? And they said, most likely we're looking at 2023. That's next year. And the overinflation of houses at least at 12.2% on average, homes are at least over that much, most likely more, but that's the average based upon information that I could gather. That, I believe, will still have an impact on us, although they're saying it won't. Local sales on the same size or same type house is going to have an impact on an assessment. That means assessments mean that's how the grand list is established and how the taxes are established on your house. So if your house is $250, well, you thought it was, and then we had COVID years, 2020 and 21, even though the market's cooling a little bit, it's not cooling fast enough. It had to be a significant cooling by 2023 in order to keep your house from being at $350,000 or $400,000 for next year when they do assessments. So like type houses, same square footage, so on and so forth, is going to impact our tax base. I know they're telling me they don't think it will, but they use like type house sales over a certain period of time. And I'm not sure if it's a year, 2 years, 5 years. I don't know. I need more information for that. And I'll have to do some more digging.
So this is what kills me. You know, we have a situation that we have all this property in town, and we now are going to get assessed. Our taxes are going to go up. I pay anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000 a building. I'm up to $20,000 a year in paying taxes, and I can't keep offsetting that by increasing the rent for renters.
Yep.
You know, it's just we're going to get it's going to be so exorbitant to afford the cost of a building here in town. And then, like you said, once that tax rate gets in, instead of paying $6,000 for 31 School Street, I'm now at $8,000.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cut into my profit.
You're not going to eat it.
I'm not going to eat it. So now I have to increase the rents for the tenants.
Right.
And the tenants are going to say, I can't afford this, and they're going to leave. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to put in Airbnbs, Deb. Right?
And you still have to have
you guys,
the taxes paid.
Yeah, but where are you, people are going to get their money? So it's, you know, the town really, and when I talked to the listers, they were like, it's a balance. But the state is saying,
they push it. There's
F the balance. We want you to just increase it, and we want our money.
Yeah. And I'm still not exactly sure how they force their hand, but they do. And it has to be, when it hits a certain percentage of, I don't know, house sales or movement in the community, movement in the area of house sales and so on and so forth, they force their hand and say, now you have to do an assessment. And they're at that tipping point, and that's what I'm trying to get to people. And that's one of the things you said to me was landlords can have to change the game, which includes charging them for their oil,
Yeah.
and charging them for their water and sewer.
Right, we have to
be, utilities have to be paid for. No paying for your electricity or your trash or a snow plowing or even maybe mowing the lawn if you rent,
Right.
the first floor of the house, you might
Right.
have to do this stuff.
Right. All those rents that everyone was used to probably like 5 years ago was where everything was included. Heat, hot water, electricity, Wi-Fi, plowing, laundry on site, mowing. All those little caveats, those little nuggets are going to go away, and people are going to have to pay almost what they're paying now, and then their heat, and then their electricity, and then they're going to have to pay for their own plowing and sanding and everything. That's what's going to happen. They're all, because you just can't gauge it. Landlords can't gauge it, and we're going to be priced out.
I know. I have a budget plan for my oil. I don't know, you may too. It's just because it's easier than paying the day rate. Which fluctuates considerably. So last week, the rate for oil from the company I use was $6.09 a gallon for our number 2 heating oil. And then today, and there's a little tax on top, it was $5.79 a gallon. And I have another property that I'm helping with, so I had to pay $5.82.90 for 100 gallons of oil today. So that's a big jump from what we paid last year. And it's so volatile that they can't guarantee any prices on any given day. If you don't already have locked in, you're screwed. I mean, that's basically how it is. And I understand there's a problem for it. You've got people running on diesel. They're putting diesel in their boilers because they don't have
kerosene.
They have no
kerosene. Diesel's way too expensive. They're going to go
kerosene. So, and it also, I think it's probably not. I don't know. Using small amounts, it's probably not what they're using, but it's how little they use at a time. It's like, put in 5 gallons?
Yeah.
It's like
they're sucking up sludge.
You're sucking up sludge, so you're screwing up your heating system.
Well, and then that's on the landlord. So, so now if the landlord's not paying rent and you can't afford it and you go buy 10-gallon jug of kerosene.
You put that in your system.
So now the landlord has got a repair order on, but then they can pass that on to you. The landlord can say, if you don't maintain a certain amount of fuel, that is on you.
Or the landlord makes you pay for your own, or he charges you back for the oil. Doing that, that's the problem. It's like but in order to ensure your house doesn't freeze, and the pipes don't blow, and all your water is everywhere, what's the balance here? Because if you tell your tenant they have to pay for the oil, and some of them can't afford the rent,
they're not going to pay the oil. They're just going to say, "I'm sorry." Tenants don't understand when they get that heating bill, especially tenants that have not had to pay for heat for years. It's been included. And then I went down $150 on rent. Now they're going to get a heating bill for the month, 100 gallons, $500 a month.
I know. Who can afford that?
So they're going to pay $850 plus $500 to heat their house. Well, then you're a kind
landlord because everybody else is paying $1,000, $1,200 just for the rent.
What they're probably going to do is just not pay me rent and pay their heat. Right, and they're going to come to me. So, I mean, either way, we all lose in this environment. Yeah. But now, I'm going to be paying a lot more in taxes.
Yes.
And this is the situation we're in. We're going to get taxed out of the state of Vermont. We're going to get taxed out of Bells Falls.
There is a program for heating for low income, but I don't know how much it is this year. It usually doesn't kick in until January, and winter's already started by December. And how many dollars you qualify for based upon your income and your number of family members and so on, whatever the factors are.
I have a tenant that just moved in, really sweet girl, first time having an apartment, love her, she's great. Sevka's going to help her out with her heat. And she gets an allowance from the house, from Vermont State Housing Authority. But Sevka's just going to do one fill.
I know. It's not like it's going to be ongoing.
I'm just going to fill you up in December. So if anybody has Sevka and you have fuel assistance, run that thing down as far as you can and then get 200 gallons from them. Do you know what I mean? So make sure you get a
Because
full
they
tank,
run out of money before
not
winter's
75
over.
gallons.
Yeah, they always do.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you're on Section 8, they'll give you a housing, they'll give you a utility allowance
Okay.
every single month, and they'll send you a check. And this girl's just putting it right in the bank and
Yeah.
going to pay for her utilities.
Okay.
But
As long as things don't go sideways, or
yeah,
yeah,
I know. It's a
lives
tightrope.
change.
It's a tightrope.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
So these are volatile things that we're thinking about that are happening to everybody, to many of the people in our community who can't afford.
And it would also, it would be really nice to know from the community, or please pass this video along. Let us know how many people now have to pay for their own heat this year, as opposed to in the past, what the landlords have done, or if you're in a bind with having to pay for your utilities and you don't know what to do, please send us a message on Facebook, a private message, and we would just like to know what's going on out there in the community, see if we can help.
FYI, heating allowance also covers if you're a gas heated home, or if you use wood. If you have a wood stove, there's allowances for wood heat too. So, at least I know they used to have them up until last year. If you have different systems or ways you heat your home. So, taking advantage of those if you can is extremely important, because you need to be able to get yourself from month to month, and you don't want to wake up to your house being 30 or 40 degrees in the morning.
Yeah, and especially if it's a Friday night, you're on your own for maybe the weekend.
Unless you feel like paying $150 or whatever it is
for a service call.
To get a service call, so add it on top of the cost of the fuel.
And that's what I changed. I changed my leases. I have one building that I was paying for everything. It's all oil, heat. Last year, I'd walk by, the windows were open,
Yep.
the doors were open in the middle of February, because they had guests and they were afraid of COVID. And
Yeah.
I'm like, is my heat shut off? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're going to cool the house down to the point that then they're all going to leave, and it's going to be 60 in there, and then you're going to want to get that whole apartment up to 70.
I know,
And it's going to crank and crank
Yep.
and crank. And so this year I said, you're on your own. So if you run out of your own oil, you have to pay for your own service call. If you don't go on auto pay as a tenant, you're going to have to pay for that person in the middle of the night.
I have a feeling I know what I'm doing with my stipends from my different elected jobs this year. It's going to be helping people
Set it
pay
aside.
Pay for
Set it
oil.
aside.
Yeah.
Pay for oil. Yep.
Let's see. Let's move on to another one, can we?
Yes.
Tax sale.
Okay.
Tax sale. We have that list. It's that funky column list there.
So this is the list of everyone that is going up for tax
This is
sale.
the current list, and to protect the names of the guilty, I have taken all the names out of the list. So what you have is property identification and the amount of taxes owed to the town. The village one is on the side, but what I want to be able to show you is how to look these up yourselves. Some of you may be interested in buying a home. Remember, if you go to a tax sale when it's ready, and it's not yet because we still have to do the title searches after the passing of Ray Masuko. We're not ready to go to sale yet, but it should happen maybe perhaps by the end of the month, beginning of December. We'll look at the schedule.
So can we do a little history for
Yeah, go ahead.
people just tuned in? So a tax sale happens when a homeowner has not paid their taxes for at least 2 years.
At least 2 years, yeah.
But what happened with COVID is was 2 years in the making.
Yeah.
And then, so if you didn't pay your taxes for 2 years, say in 17 and 18, then COVID hit, so you haven't paid your taxes in 20 and 21,
Yeah.
you're looking at people that have not paid their taxes for 4 years.
Right.
And
It's
you're
true.
looking at houses that people haven't paid their taxes, and their tax bill could be $24,000 to $47,000 because they haven't paid up.
Right.
And this is some big pieces of property. So what happens is the town
interesting that was on there.
sends all those properties to the attorney. He notifies the people. He gives them an option to pay, a timeline to pay it up. They decide they don't. It goes to tax sale. And when it goes to tax sale, it's like an auction. And you get to go into a room and you get to bid on it. And you have to pay all the encumbrances. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Encumbrances or any other liens
Mortgage, any of that stuff.
mortgage,
IRS.
IRS, construction liens,
Yep, liens from the town or
liens
village
from the
if they
towns, yeah.
had things we had to
So
do,
it's not just paying, oh, geez, it's $10,000 for back taxes and you have this building. It's not that. It's those things. And then you win the bid.
And you pay immediately.
You have to wait a year
a year and a day.
to actually get that house. You don't pay for it that day and move in the next day.
Can't step on the site. You can't evict the tenants. You can't do any of
anything.
that.
Yeah, and then those people get a whole year to pay all those taxes back, but they also get to pay you back what you put in, and what is it, 12% on top of that.
I think so. It sits in an escrow.
It sits in an escrow, so you gain interest on that.
So you're going to get your money back plus some interest if you don't get to keep it after a year and a day, and they have to keep it current. So it has to be not just the tax line you see, but the entire following current year. In that year, they have to keep all the taxes current. So it has to be all paid.
Right.
So.
But there's also something, and ask your attorney, when you take on this title, when you take on this house, it's almost like a dirty title, because it's been the building has been confiscated.
Yeah.
Right? So ask your attorney about how easy it is then to resell that building later on down the line. But what Deb put together is how to look to see what encumbrances, how many other things, liens and things like that, and other expenses are on the buildings that you might want to bid on. Yeah. But where can somebody get this list?
This is a public document. This was given to the trustees and the select board, but technically it's been brought into the public light. We talk about it in public meetings and make it a public document. So you could contact the clerk or the town clerk or the manager in the town hall and get a copy of this current list. Now, this list may fluctuate. There may be fewer people on it by the time we get to tax sale. And just so you're aware, only the top column, where the bottom is there, see? So whereas 233320054, that first grouping is the current people who would go to tax sale right now until the day of tax sale to purchase that back, buy it all off. The three below it are people who are in probate, three below it. Okay. And then I think there's 7 or 8 down here on the bottom who are waiting on the VHFA loans. They didn't give us a time frame of when they've been completed on this, so they're in the waiting pattern. They filled out the application. They haven't been awarded money to pay off their back taxes yet. So we can't count, but they might be denied. And the others might come out of probate. We don't know. So those might go up to the upper top list. But right now, we can't count any of them. Just the first column.
So can we see on this list what the taxes are? Where's the total balance?
Okay, there's the total town. And if you could move this screen over a little to the right.
To the right or
to the right of the page. Yep. There we go. Okay. So there's what it only shows is separated the village. So we've got, say for instance, that one you see that's $8,807. Okay, 13,133.03. But now that's the town. Then the village pieces is $6,133.81. So this isn't total for the total amount you'd have to pay to get this property. You'd need $20,000, whatever that property is. $20,000 in back taxes. That includes. That also includes the water and sewer that's owed in here too, because all that has to be taken care of during the tax sale.
So this column 1, 2, 3, 4 is all town.
All town and the total, and then 1, 2, 3, 4,
scattered looking
5
ones are village.
Village,
so you have a total for town, which is $289,000 right there.
And the total for village.
Village is almost $40,000.
Yep,
okay,
exactly.
So you need to add this column and that
column together to get the total for the property, because it also includes their water and sewer, which there's also penalties and interest in here too. So
can I ask you why people are paying their village tax, but they're not paying their town?
Well, some of these properties might not be village. These is the entire town of Rockingham. So the likelihood is that they have, although some people are kind of sporadic about that, but for the most part, the ones that are blank are going to be non-village property.
Okay. All right. So all that white space.
Saxon's River, Rockingham, Brockway's Mills, so on and so forth. So now we could go back to the left of the sheet. I want to get into the next so we can look at the next. So what I want to do is just walk you through, if you are interested in any of these properties, and you can't tell where they are right now, there's no addresses on the list. but we can find out what they are. So if you see any of these numbers, and I take the examples we're going to look at, we'll show, just took one so we can get a look at it. So could we go to the next screen, please? You're going to go, okay, whoops, now, oh, that's not the first one. Try another one. I'll tell you when to stop. Need to go back a little bit. I'll go back again. And go back again.
We're trying to run you through the
We're trying to get to the process. There we are. Okay.
Okay.
You're going to go to the Town of Rockingham site, which is rockinghambt.org. You're going to, there will be a list of departments. Under departments, you'll find listers. On the listers page, this is Town of Rockingham Listers Office, you'll see these red pieces of information. GIS map site is where you want to go, and I put a yellow arrow by it so you can see it.
Are these documents going to be on Facebook? Or somehow?
I can post them, yes.
Okay.
I can post them. So these are screenshots. I took screenshots. So go to the next one, please.
And this is how to find out how much
Move over to the left,
money
please.
a house owes.
Yeah.
That you would have to pay for.
Yeah, so we're going to get to the process of seeing the property so you can know where the property is. Okay, you're going to hit search. See the arrow right there on the left of the page, it says search with the eyeglass. So that's the next place you're going to go. So when it brings you in, it's a general area of the entire area of Rockingham is right there. So you're going to hit search. Next screen, please. Then in this box here, you are going to type in the parcel number. So I put in a parcel number, one of them, to show you an example. So that's where you go to put in the parcel number or the name of the owner or the address if you know it. And that's not from this list, but anything you might want to look at. Next screen, please. There we go.
Is this an actual
That's an actual property. It's on the list. That's right.
So if anybody knows,
so the by the way, the screenshot of the
Roy?
of the tax of the tax list has 2 additional numbers for mapping that are in the front. Don't use those. Every number on that list is great after the first 2 numbers. So you just put in the remaining 7 numbers. It brings up the property. There it is. It matches. There's the street address, and it even gives you the name of the owner.
So it's going to bring up the property, and it's going to bring up the name of the owner.
So it's going to be there right on the screen. So then go to the next screen, please. You can click on that. You'll click on the map. It'll show you the map on the map. It'll show you a highlight, and that's the property. Could you raise it up a little bit?
It's pretty nice. How much
Yeah.
do they owe on it?
I don't remember. I have to go back to the list.
Okay.
I need to see the bottom of that picture where it shows the house. So if you could raise that screen up at all, would be great. If you can't, you
It
can't.
looks like it's embedded.
It may be embedded.
Yeah.
It's possible. But I thought, well, let me see what I got here. So I want to tell you something else you can do here too. You can look at, no, maybe that's my fault. Okay, it's my fault. At the bottom of that, you'll also have an option to look at more about the property. It'll tell you about there's a couple boxes down below there. You can look at them. It'll tell you the size of the property,
Yep.
value of the house, the value of the property, how old it is, like age of the homestead, that kind of thing. And so you can get more detail on the property. So you're seeing a screenshot here of a house that looks like it's being insulated.
Looks like it's all being re-sided,
Yep.
and it's going to be insulated. It has a metal roof.
Yep.
And I'm just interested. So let's go back and see. Can you figure out? So you got 961.
Yeah. So
can we go back to
back a few pages? We want to
few
get
pages
to
because
the
I'd
list.
be interested to see what 961
There we go.
has for
Okay, it's the very
encumbrances.
first one.
So 961
Has
owes
that's all. 15,889.
15,000. So if you remembered the picture of that house, you would be able to pay $15,889.23 in taxes.
Yep.
But then there's
You bid on it, and
you bid
if you
on
win
it,
it,
and you can go up on that.
You can, a
You can
lot
go
of
up
people
on
do
that.
because
Bid up,
what happens
bid it up.
is after the year is over, and if it's still yours because the people did not redeem what they call redeem it in a year and a day, you have to pay that plus the current taxes, which are not listed there.
But if I bid $100,000 on that house, he has to pay me 12% interest on $100,000, right?
Well, he doesn't. The town does because they put it in an interest-bearing account.
Okay.
So the owner's not paying you. The town gives you back everything that's left over after you pay it down.
No, if he pays,
If he pays it
the
off?
owner decides to pay it off, I think the owner has to pay.
I guess I have to check on that because my
Me,
understanding is
the
just give you the
12%.
interest-bearing account plus your $100,000 back. I think it's just the account.
Yeah.
We should check.
Yeah. Yeah.
For that, I have to
Okay.
drink some more.
All right. So I thought if I bid $100,000 on that building,
Yeah.
and you decide you're going to wait a year, but you're going to pay the taxes off,
Pay all
you can
that.
you can pay off the taxes,
Everything in current
but you
and
still
back.
have to give me 12% on my $100,000.
I guess that's
Because
you're going to see that in January.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because that would be incentive for me to bid and bid it up.
Bid it up in order to get 12% on
Right.
on
Right.
$100,000.
And then the other part of that is what they can do is they can go back to you and say, Rebecca's going to give you $100,000 for that house. You owe us 20 in taxes. We're going to give you 80 grand and you're going to be free and
the
clear.
town can't make any money on it.
No, the town's going to get their taxes.
Yeah.
And then you get 80 grand in your pocketbook.
Right. The difference we're taking
You
the
get
property
you
over.
get the you get the 80 grand in your pocketbook and you can say I'm done with this, it's all yours. Yeah, so we need
other ways around
we
it,
need to
yeah.
do better about this, and I think we need to get that on our Facebook page about how this process works because we're talking about people that are getting kicked out of their houses
Yeah.
because they're being sold and they have nowhere to go. This is an opportunity for them to get their house.
Yeah.
But it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
And it's some red tape, and you got to have half
you
a
got to
brain
realize
about you.
some of these are going to be apartment buildings on here, and other types of
I
things.
don't think there's many apartment buildings.
Probably
on
not
here,
too many, but there may be some, and I haven't looked them all.
And this is 4 years in the making. So these people have not been paying the taxes for 4 years. So they've been taking their money and putting in siding and for other things. So.
One step is left, and that is to let you know if you want to find out what the encumbrances are, which means any liens, any mortgages, debts accrued that are laying on the house, any layers of that.
So they have to pay that too?
Yeah, that's part. The encumbrances have to go away. They have to be paid. Kathleen told me they're not supposed to sell a house without taking care of all of that.
Man, okay.
So hopefully it's clean, but you won't know that till you look it up. So we say we took the first one, the last 961. You go to this website. Hopefully you can all see it.
You're going to have to.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I don't know.
Talk it out.
Who's going to see it? It's countyfusion10.cofile.tech.us. So that's COUNTYFUSION, no space, 10, no space, dot, cofile, KOFILE, that is really an LE, not a K, dot tech, TECH, dot US. From this page, you can find out with these property numbers or the name or the address that you'll have from looking in the mapping, like we just showed you, what there are on there. If there's still a mortgage left, if there's IRS liens, if there's state liens, if there's anything. Say, for instance, they didn't mow their lawn and the town had to go and mow the lawn for them because they refused to mow the lawn even though they were notified. That would be a lien. A cost would be liened against the house. All those things need to get paid to have clear title.
And so the person that's paying it is the bidder.
Right.
The bidder. Okay.
But they don't have to pay it that. They don't have to pay that right away. That's if they win if they get the house in a year.
They have to pay that
Yes,
off. They
then
have to
they
pay
do.
it off. Okay. So if I am Rebecca Gagnon and
Yeah.
I have my house.
Yeah.
And I just remortgaged it for $200,000, and then I took out a loan against it for another $50,000.
Yeah.
And then I have another $25,000 against it.
Yeah.
So now I'm in debt $275,000,
Yeah.
and I decide to not pay my
my taxes.
taxes for 2 years.
Or more.
Who's going to want to come and buy that house
what- no,
for
that's- they don't all
$275,000? They're not
sell.
going to do it.
They're-
And then then I can just stop paying taxes because it's not going to get taken away by tax sale unless the town takes it.
Unless the town takes it, but the town doesn't take all
Right.
properties.
So I don't understand that somebody bidding
I
on
don't
this would
either.
have to pay the.
But there are some properties that don't sell on
I'm
there.
going to challenge that.
Okay.
I'm going to challenge
See what we can find because those
Kathleen
don't all go.
on that. I think that's why I think what happens is that if I had $275,000 outstanding debt and you came in and bought it for $20,000 in taxes, I'm on the hook with the bank, and then
Yeah.
I have bad credit, and then I go into default and I go into bankruptcy.
Right.
But you still get the building for $20,000.
No, actually, you can't do that.
The bank can't force you to take on that debt.
But you can't. They can't give you the house with the encumbrances.
That's what I mean. They're not going to give it the town is taking it by eminent, but for a tax
but
rate.
they don't technically do that. So we still need more information.
I think, yeah, I'm
So
gonna- I
this is-
challenge.
This is
I'm putting up a challenge.
This is the initial gentle, walk down the lane to
Hell
see what it
no.
looks like. If you're interested in looking at a house and you see, oh, they don't have a lot of taxes, maybe I'd buy that. But then you need to look in the background and see what's really on there.
All right, so
So this is the first step. We can put more information on our Facebook page.
if that were the
along with
case,
this.
everybody would be like way inflating their mortgages, so no one would take their house by tax sale.
Yeah, I don't know how that actually works.
Okay.
That part. So
right.
yes, you could. I mean, if someone had the ability and the house was worth it, and possibly during COVID, that some people might have done that when the house was inflated in value. Mm-hmm. But
Oh yeah, everyone remortgaged
Yeah.
and took out a whole ton of equity.
Well-
We're everyone's at $200,000-$300,000 mortgages right now.
but there
and
are
locked
people
in.
who are waiting. There are people who are waiting for the market to cool down more before they purchase anything else.
Oh, absolutely.
It's gone up so.
Yeah. Does that lead us into another topic?
Well, let's see. Well, I mean, buying them for B&Bs, that could be one of the results
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
Airbnbs. Let's see. The quick conversation about certificates of occupancy.
Okay. Yeah.
So your understanding of them as they currently exist, because you've been through it, is what?
Nothing, really, nothing. I've been a landlord for 22 years, and I have rifled through tenants, and no one in the town has ever come and said, listen, I need to inspect your property before you move someone in. However, I've recently taken on some grants to remodel apartment buildings, and this last round, the state fire marshal had to approve the building for safety.
Right.
So I had to apply for a permit with the state fire marshal. He had to come and look around, approve my project, approve the remodel, and then I could not move anyone in until I got an email. It wasn't even a certificate
even
with a gold star. It was just, here's your email, you got it, you're all good to go. I saw it, looks beautiful, thank you very much, you're awesome. Yeah.
So
whatever.
essentially, we don't have certificates of occupancy
we do not.
in our community.
No.
Some states do. Some specific communities do. We could have them for rentals. We could have them for new building construction, if we wanted to. But the reality is, right now, the focus has been on getting, like for instance, Chester would like certificates of occupancy for Airbnbs.
Right. So we don't have them. So the Airbnb topic has come up as a way. This kind of coincides with everything we're talking about, but about the cost of maintaining and keeping up buildings, the taxes coming in, the inflation from oil. Landlords are now trying to think about maybe Airbnb and bringing in Airbnbs, which we are a homeless driven kind of topic here.
Yeah.
So creating Airbnbs really offsets people that can have an ability to have an apartment. So that kicks people out. It moves people along. People can no longer be renting apartments because everything's going to Airbnbs. So
They can charge so much more.
You can charge more. You don't have to have it readily available. You can have it available on the weekends for your families, everything else. But what's going on is now we don't have local people that can have homes. So Chester, which is kind of a tourist town, more so than most,
because they're closer to ski resorts than we are.
is had quite a few inns, like the Huggy Bear Inn and things like that. They're turning everything into Airbnbs, and then landowners and landlords are turning their apartments into Airbnbs, and now you have no place to live. So they are now looking at wanting to control Airbnbs and set them to the same standard as an apartment, and they're thinking that they're going to start a certificate of occupancy, which apartments don't have.
And
those.
they would also like to see owner-occupied Airbnbs.
Oh, yes.
Because there's also concerns about neighborhood.
Yep.
The flavor or the atmosphere in your neighborhood changes because you have people who are maybe party hardy people who, like if you go down to the beach and you know what that's like, just drive down Hampton. See what it looks like on the decks and everything. Like people are like, woo-hoo, that's the kind of behavior that people are concerned about at Airbnbs, is that unrestricted behavior with no one to be responsible to. So there's no one controlling them. There's complaints about noise and other kinds of things that could happen right in between you and a neighbor in your other neighbor's house on the other side with no one there. So you don't know that neighbor. They're coming and going. They might be there a week. They might be there a month. They might be there 3 months. they're clearly paying a lot more money to be using Chester as a bedroom ski resort area. You know, just a short drive to get to a Scotney or wherever they're headed. That's why they have a concern, and they had quite a few. My understanding after talking to the planning and zoning administrator, there are a handful of them in our community.
Yeah, there's not much. There's not many,
but
There's-
not,
and
not
you
saying
wouldn't
it won't
even
happen.
you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't know that. It's not like Bellows
You
Falls
only know
is
if somebody
like
says something,
tourist to everyone that is clamoring to come to Bellows Falls, and
We don't have that kind of entertainment level. That's in
I
business.
wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. If I have 3 units, and every building I have is basically 3 units, and I wouldn't put an Airbnb in one because my tenants would be like, we don't know who's coming in.
Yeah, it's kind of
Saturday night.
sketchy.
Who's this guy? Who's this girl?
Yeah,
I'm freaked
sure.
out. But my brother owns an Airbnb in Salem, Massachusetts, and in Salem,
10 minutes.
in Salem, they require that it has to be owner occupied.
Yeah.
So I would go for that. I would go for any Airbnb
That has
in
an
our
owner.
village.
You know
It has to
the
be owner
owner.
occupied.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got people right now that they took one whole house. I'm not going to mention names, and they turned it into 2 Airbnbs instead of apartments.
I know who it is.
Right by the school. So
I'm just thinking, why? I mean,
I can't believe that they're making any money.
It's Bellows Falls again. It's not a tourist town. It's not Salem. It's not even Chester. Not even as remote as Chester headed to a ski resort.
Right. Yeah, you're 45 minutes to an hour away from skiing.
Yeah.
But people are telling me that it works here. People don't mind driving 45 minutes to go to the mountain.
And the reason to do this is it's profitable.
And I just heard that there's a house that has is going to be sold. The paperwork, the ink is not dried yet,
Yep.
but they're turning that big, beautiful white house into short-term rentals. Yeah, because they think that there's momentum here for tourism. And that's the other part that kills me is the state of Vermont is all tourism. We make our money on tourism.
That's their focus.
So,
But
and
not
don't
here-
we,
not
don't we
here in
want,
Rockingham.
No, wait a minute. Don't we want people come to our village and see our cute little village?
Yeah, to be
and
home.
That's we want them to visit.
Yeah.
And go to the coffee shop and go to the train station and check out the movie theater and Wonder
But
Bar.
don't we want some? But there's also those who want stability in the community and know that
It's very
know-
safe,
Yep.
It's a very safe 1950s,
Yeah.
safe.
a porch area,
It is
walking
safe
community. Yep, exactly.
Yes.
And
We have a gold mine here.
I know but it's one that we have to be we have to be conservative with, and we have to be able to protect it. Otherwise, we could wind up being village of Airbnbs. As it is, we already have over 1,000 apartments, and that's heading beyond that mark as soon as Wyndham Windsor Housing's done, and that's going to be soon. Yeah, let's see. Can we move on to 4? You think?
Yes.
We got 10 minutes, I think.
All right.
The question was about this. We talked about zombie houses at our last episode.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. But now that I've given you a tool on how to look up properties, you can look up properties that are zombie houses right now, and you can see by going to that county Fusion website I gave you, and we'll put it on our Facebook page so you can clearly see it. And you'll see it on the, if you rewatch this as well, you can find out with just the address who the mortgage company is. And houses that aren't moving because mortgage companies own them and don't want to do anything with them, and we pointed out several of them last time, could be motivated to get them on the sale block, to put them up for sale by speaking to them. Maybe they would move forward. They might have some concerns about it, but the way the market still is, there's a lot of houses that still have viability here that could be moved that way.
So there's 2 zombie houses right now. I mean,
Yep.
we talked about 3.
One's in the market or just been sold.
We
so.
talked about one that has been sold. They actually got it, they got it online, sold it. They didn't want to hold on to it. But 5 Elm is a zombie house. So feel free to drive by. Please drive by 5 Elm. And then the first house on Pond Road on the right is another zombie house. And a zombie house is a house. A zombie is a living, breathing, walking, looking human being that's all deteriorating and got goo and is just all just molten lava and still walking around. A zombie house is just that. It's a house that's sitting there that isn't being cared for and it's deteriorating.
Mortgage company doesn't want to do anything with it.
Doesn't
Still
care
sitting on the
because
books.
it's just a number on the books, and they take 500 of those numbers and they sell it to another bank that
They roll
owes
them
them
together.
debt.
Yep.
So they say, oh, B banker, you owe me $8 million in debt. I want you to take all these zombie houses
In
off my
exchange for
plate
it, yeah.
and give me the cash, and
Yep.
and there we go. And then Bank B does the same thing to Bank C. So these zombie houses never get put on the real estate, for sale list,
Yeah.
and they just stay there and they deteriorate and they deteriorate. And we got 5 Elm Street, that is a zombie house. And we've got number 1 Pond Road, that's a zombie house.
And there might be some more. We're just not aware
So
of them.
what we need to do is get those people that are tired of renting and tired of landlords and want to go out on their own to go on this website that
Yeah.
you brought up.
Yep, this one.
And in there, you're going to be able to find who's the banker that owns that house, and you can start just nagging
Start a
them, saying,
conversation.
I want that house. Let me give you the money for that house.
What do you want for the
I'll
house?
give
Yeah.
it, give me a deal, and I'll take it on. You can also go to some town administrators that say, listen, we need to clean up these zombie houses.
Yeah, I mean that house on Elm. I don't understand. I've asked them several times, why
beautiful
aren't we
house.
mowing the lawn? Because you're asking for infiltration by who knows what entities over the winter time.
I went there.
Yep.
Recently,
Yep.
and the lawn is this high, and somebody's putting out food for cats. So now you've got at least 6 feral cats all around the house
Living in that area,
and
yeah.
going into the cellar. They think they're doing a nice job, but the neighborhood is not mowing the lawn.
Yeah, no.
And
the
they're not taking care of
the
it.
Village
the
of
town's
Bells
not
Falls
taking care
has
of
an
it.
ordinance
I'll
for
go
that.
down with my lawnmower and help them out. I'll do
Well,
that.
it's going to take a little more than that. It's going to take a weed whacker.
Yeah. But
And then mulch it up. Yeah.
But we all know people died in there.
Yeah.
We had 2 overdoses.
Two
And the
deaths,
thing
yeah.
about it is, legal aid begged the town administrators, the
Yeah.
fire chief, please leave them in there. We'll get them heat. Leave those drug dealers in there. These were squatters.
Yeah, because the owner died.
The owner, Robert, died.
Yeah.
He had these guys in there, and then they just decided to live there for months and months, putting kerosene.
Well, you can see the mortgage company didn't care.
The mortgage company didn't care. They're putting kerosene
In the boiler,
in
yeah.
there. They were drug addicts, and finally, after the chief said something's going to go wrong in there when we're not taking this on,
Yeah.
they overdosed and died. And they had to go in and take them out. So 5 Elm Street does come with some goblins and some ghosts. And 2 people that OD'd and
exorcise
died
those.
there. Yeah, you might need an exorcist in there, but damn.
But yeah, moving them, putting them back into usable parts of our community.
There's 2 beautiful apartments
I
in
know,
there, and then
it's
the
so
one on Pond
sad.
Road, and people are looking for houses to live in.
I know.
And the bank is saying, no, we don't
Yeah,
care.
screw
We
it.
don't care about your community.
So that probably one or both of us will be looking this stuff up and seeing who we can nag. Everybody, more nagging helps.
Mm-hmm.
The squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's it. The last time on here is what I brought up at the beginning, is that we will be breaking through the rest of November and December and coming back in January with our next episode. We
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what we said.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm going through an eviction, so we might have like a spontaneous December.
we might. But right
2
now for
years
the
of-
books,
my
we
2
would
years of
expect
hell.
it. But we do have
Yeah.
we have a winter project, which is to work on a business plan
Yes.
that we've been talking about, and having some time to actually focus on that and get it together and try to find funding and all of that and see how far we can get moved. So we're going to say no episode, but we might do an episode in December. Okay, now
Yeah.
she said something different than she said last month. Whatever, but that's fine. I just want you to know that we're not leaving you. We're working on stuff. We're trying to get more answers. And there's so much stuff that happened in just the last week or two. It's crazy.
I know.
You know,
And
the Bennington County state's attorney is taking a landlord to court because he didn't evict drug addicts in his housing. I don't know how many places he had. I didn't remember from the article. And we have the law, and the law doesn't make. It's very vague. So I don't know how that works. I know Springfield tried it, didn't work for them some years ago. It's a common nuisance ordinance. But it's not very specific to if a landlord can't prove anything, without proof, how can he possibly evict anyone? And you and those of you who have been through an eviction process know that this can take a long time. It's a painful process. It's painful for everybody. The landowner, the people who don't want to leave, trying to find new housing. Social service agencies can only be so helpful. They only have so many properties. Oh, I want to make sure to mention 211 in order to find some services. I know they're not complete and there are a lot of gaps, and I'm looking at that. I've actually made a couple of phone calls trying to figure out exactly what they offer. It's supposed to be a national hotline to find housing, to find services, electrical problems, like, you don't have heat, you don't have electric, you don't have food. Any number of items are in there. However, there are some local gaps, and I think that that's going to call for a regional number that people can it's automated with all the information that you need, because it changes. Like, for instance, there's no warming shelters here. You have to go to Brattleboro or to Springfield for those of you who are homeless.
Since when?
Because
we've had a warming shelter for the last 5 years.
Greater
They're
Falls
not doing it anymore?
Nope, since COVID. And
we were putting people down at
a roadway.
No, we were. Oh no, I mean a warming shelter where they go sleep at night.
Yeah,
we were putting people down at Dave Gorham's place where St. Johnsbury used to be.
Yes, it's Westminster, and they're done. They stopped as of COVID.
Oh,
because of concerns over, have you been in that place? I used to bring food there. So it's small and it's close. Okay. So they stopped doing that. They used their funds to get people rooms at Roadway. They've apparently run out of funds. According to the new Our Place director, there is no more warming shelter.
Really?
And they don't have
where's
funds.
The notification for that?
Nobody. Try to go to their Facebook page. There's nothing. Nobody responds to you. I don't get any information back.
So here's the thing, though. If homeless people come to this area and realize there's no resources, they don't stay here. They'll hop on that bus and they'll go to Brattleboro.
Yeah, well,
there's
at least one homeless. According to there's one homeless guy who's been here all summer.
So a lot of people
and he's still
say,
here,
"Yay!"
Because I just saw him 2 days ago. According to the Our Place director, there are 6 or 7 homeless guys that they've been feeding.
Yeah.
So
I know.
So
they're all down
here.
They're all down at the train station having fires in the middle of the night, and like drinking beer and littering.
But just so you're aware, at this point, there isn't a place to sleep in warmth unless you go to Brattleboro or Springfield. There's nothing here.
So what you're saying is those 5 guys will get on a bus and go down to Brattleboro.
They might, or they're sleeping in your hallways. Because we used to have that problem with homeless, that they would sleep in hallways of apartment buildings. I'm just saying, it has occurred more than once.
Yep.
Or your basement, if you
or
don't lock your doors.
If you've got a back door that is unlocked.
Yeah, and I feel bad for all this, because it's a humanitarian problem. I want landlords to be safe. I want their tenants to be safe. These homeless guys who actually, some of them have a lifestyle of homelessness, and I've said this so many times.
They
don't want to
homeless.
spend their federal money, state money, or the state money that they receive on a monthly basis, like those who are unemployed.
Yeah.
They're receiving that, or Social Security, or whatever it is, and they're living on it, but they're not getting housing.
Yep. But I have an issue with that. If you choose to be homeless, then don't litter, and don't threaten me.
Yeah.
We live. I'm sorry to say, but we live in a society, and we have to follow the society rules.
And that's what they don't. That's
and
where
they don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
And I get that, but don't threaten me. Don't threaten my house. I don't want to be intimidated when I go down to the train station because you're there
and you're drunk
begging
and angry.
me for money, and you're drunk and angry, and your pants are down around your knees, and you're defecating off the bench. Yeah,
but I mean, I want them to be safe, but they're making poor life choices, and those life choices are impacting everybody else.
Right.
So that's a really rough spot to be on. I want to thank everybody who listens and re-listens to what we do and goes to our Facebook page. We also have an email address, which is nonpchousing@gmail.com. We take all of this very anonymously. We don't give out names. Mm-hmm. We want people to be able to participate. I would like legislature and those of you who may be elected very soon, next Tuesday, to think strongly about the fact that you need to do these are big needs. This is a heavy push, and we need people to come up with creative ideas to solve these problems, not just sit in your seat and get paid. Mm-hmm. Sorry, but that's how I felt.
And we're not endorsing any candidates.
We're not. No, you have not seen us endorse a single damn candidate. And that's because I haven't found anyone to my liking.
Because we have such a big following.
Yeah. I know at least a couple of them that watch our shows,
All right.
our episodes. So hoping it's
I know.
making them think
Right.
about what we do.
But hey.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers.
Have a great holiday. Maybe we'll see you in December. Take care.
Thank you.